I know this looks like a completed shifter, and in fact it is. This is what the result will be by the end of this video. The sad thing is as beautiful as this thing is, it's kind of like the girl at school that you had a crush on, that when you finally met her and started hanging out with her, she wasn't all that in a box of cookies. Because this thing's now got a problem that we're going to talk about at the end of the episode, because why would I tell you now? You just quit watching the video. But at the end of the episode, we're going to talk about this. We're also going to discuss some exciting new parts stuff for these shifters. Believe it or not, there are people making parts for 60-year-old shifters for Galaxie 500s. Who knew? And even 68 Torinos for that matter. So, stay tuned. You'll find out what's going on, okay? Okay.
Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Auto Krafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxie, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things I've run into with these shifters. Number one is this saddle assembly right here is really, really hard to get out. It's a flat pin, but when they put them in here, they mushroom the head on one end. If you try to go in and hammer this side out, on 3 attempts on 3 different shifters, I was unable to do it. This one, the pin was completely missing out of it already anyway, so it didn't matter. Plus, this pin's already damaged. I mean, this thing is in pretty bad shape. This central roll pin here, which I'll explain this in just a minute, that was about the only thing that's good on that one. But this saddle assembly I couldn't get out, so I'm just going to have to kind of run what I brung, so to speak. Everything else came out pretty good. This is the one that was in the car. We just cleaned it up real nice, used some wire wheel on it. Didn't even use a bead blaster or anything because I didn't want to get any glass bead down inside of here any more than I had to. All right, so what I'm going to talk about is the stuff from Bill Healy. Now, this is 4-speed shifters on eBay. Just look them up. I've got a link to them through eBay below me here. You can also find a direct link in the description below. They're starting to sell these parts kits. I believe they are reproducing these, and they're selling the wave washer, which is very key, and I'll show you that in a little bit, and the outer washer and the lock ring. This is the stuff that was missing right here, along with the spring, off of our shifter when we got the car. So, had these been available when we first picked up a car, I would have gotten all this, and I wouldn't have gone through all the myriad hours of hunting and scoring around trying to find a good shifter to put in the Galaxie that isn't, it's not going to run right now because it's broke. But, be that as it may, those are the parts. Now I'm going to go over a couple things that you're going to run into if you are going to buy used shifters. There are things you need to look out for and to look into whenever you're looking at possibly buying one of these as a part shifter. Or you can just contact Bill and those guys through eBay and be done with it and order a completely done, beautiful shifter. Okay? Okay. All right, the 2 shifters I've got right here. This is the really nice piece that we got from our guys at Auto Krafters. I've shown you this already once, but I got to do it again because it's so cool. This is the 4-speed shifter for a bench seat in a Fairlane. Believe it or not, this actually works in the Galaxies as well. We did set it in the car before we started anything, as we showed you, so now you know. But I'm going to use this as an example of things to look out for. When we got this shifter assembly in right here, it had a fairly decent looking T-handle in there. I mean, it's in nice shape. Spring works right. Everything's good there, except some fine fellow has gone in and cut the tab off that actuates the ability to go into reverse if the shifter is complete, which should have been my first clue that we had a problem, because without that little tab that someone kindly cut off on a fairly decent short shifter, if you put the shifter back together correctly using this piece right here in the assembly, it won't go into reverse. That was the first clue we had a problem. Then whenever I began to disassemble the shifter, I noticed that while this stuff is okay and the saddle is good and it's in decent shape and it moves around not much at all, the central pin here is broken off. And it's not just like, you know, it's not just, it's still in there. So it's broken off on both sides. So somebody has messed this shifter up. Another thing that I found was that the shift arm here is not correct for a Borg-Warner shifter. If you'll notice, these two shift arms are completely different. This is for probably a top loader, I think. This one is for the Borg-Warner. These are the things you have to look out for. The other shifter that we got in, for instance, if you'll notice, these are the two plates, the top plates. Someone's gone in and hogged out the hole that is here that you're supposed to put a drill bit through to center your shift arms up. With that big hole there, you're not going to have a lot of success centering everything up. So that was one of the things that was wrong with the other one, aside from it being cut apart. When I bought that shifter, I knew it was a wreck and I was buying it for parts. The shift arms from that shifter gave their life to go into our shifter because our shift arms are in pretty crap shape. Things like this. This shift shaft assembly. This piece is really good. Somebody's already gotten the pin out of here, but it is of an odd size according to the guys at 4-Speed Shifters. This is a special size. The ones that are available through Scott Drake don't quite fit this hole on the early shifters. I'm not sure about the later ones. And I'm going to go into later ones now. You'll notice this is the spring washer from a later shifter. See how much bigger this hole is than the other one. They used a much larger shaft assembly on the 3-speed shifters and the later 4-speed shifters from Ford. And I'm not even going to get off into all that esoterica because there's apparently all kind of crazy stuff between shift arms and all that. What I'm telling you by this is caveat emptor, buyer beware. When you're buying a used shifter on eBay, it's probably not even the fault of the guy selling it because these things are like 60 years old. Between here and there, somebody's probably jacked with that thing just a little bit. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm actually going to go in and just final assemble the shifter. Basically, it's the same thing as taking it apart, but what I am going to do is I'm going to speed through putting the shaft assembly together and all that, but I'm going to talk specifically about some of the little idiosyncrasies that were missing from this shifter that it needed to be in there to make it work. I'm going to use a moly grease on this. Doesn't really matter what you use to just put some grease around these pieces just to set them up. I've also got my mobile phone here with a diagram we'll put on our webpage so that you can go out and take a look at how to put this together if you're working on a Borg-Warner shifter or Borg-Warner Ford shifter, because this is all a little different depending on which one you're working with. All right, your first piece that goes on, this is your reverse. I'm pretty sure it goes on first of all. Put a little more dabadooya on the grease on this one. Let it click all the way down into place. I'm not going to grease the inside back bearing yet because I can move that around to grease it after we get everything done. And then what goes on next is this is part of your reverse stuff from the kit that we got from Ford 4-Speeds. This piece here should be perfectly flat across the top. It goes on like this over the pins and sits in that opening right here at the very back top. Again, I'm going to put some grease on this. I'm not wanting to gorilla up on the grease. I just want to have some on here to make the action work better. Now this is where we had the problem before. This is the, I believe the 3/4 shift. I may be wrong about that. But that goes next. Feels good on there. This is nice and fairly nice and tight. There's not a lot of lost motion on the shaft assembly. That means we still got a good shaft assembly on here. And then what goes next is this one. Again, grease up a little bit. Now that pin that's right here, that's what controls which shift lever is being actuated by everything. We do an episode, which we're going to be doing an episode here pretty near, of putting everything together and putting it back in the car to show you how it works. Now the last and important part of this is there should be a shim, and it doesn't always need a shim, but on these older shifters especially, they really probably do want to see one. There is a shim that you can put between the final plate that goes on the top, which is this piece, and the shift arm here. Now when you get the kit from Ford Shifters, this is the one they send you. I still have an original. This is an original shim that I've kind of re-kinked, and I'm going to go and put this one, now I'm going to put their new one on. I like this one because it sits a little tighter to the shaft assembly. And then on top of that, this goes in. And this is not a tension fit. In other words, this is mobile. It'll move around. So what you want to try to do is get it all centered up on itself. Back bolt is a 7/16. It's one of those short serrateds that we showed you earlier on. And then the other one is a long 3/8. Now we've assembled shifters before, but up until now, as far as I know, this kind of kit was not available in the aftermarket. So it's pretty exciting to see that they've come out with that. Between that and the shift arm from our friends at Auto Krafters, we should have a pretty nicely operating Borg Warner shifter here. Tightening both of those up now. Now, if I'm going through and doing this for final, I'm going to probably do what I just did and then go in and test this spring washer that we just put in there, and then also test the other spring washer that we had to see which one we like the feel of a little bit better, if you really want to be that guy. A lot of times I am. But this is just going to show you how it all goes back together. Spring goes on next, and your washer goes on there. And this is a battle I always hate to fight, because I am horrible with getting these things to hook up right. Okay, now you don't want to over open those. That goes on there, and there's a little shelf it sits in. Clicks in. You heard it click, maybe, possibly. And there you go. That is a Ford shifter assembled up and ready to go. So we've got this put together. The next thing we're going to do next week is we're going to go and put it back into the car with the shift arms all cleaned up, ready to rock and roll, and show you how to set it up, because there is a setup procedure for these as well, which is why this piece right here that we had that was busted, this one wouldn't work, and this one will get us right where we need to be to get the shift arms lined up perfectly to make this thing shift. All right, folks, that's it for this week. I'm going to close up my coastal grease and put it to the side. This thing is pretty nice. It's a little goopy and a little loose. I might even go in and add this shim to it for my own mental protection. It's just the way I operate with things. It seems like I could probably get a little bit of the motion out of it if I went in and put that shim in there as well. So off camera, I'll probably make that happen. Speaking of making things happen, do me a favor and go out and check out the Patreon account. If we've done anything for you, if we've saved you any amount of money working on your cars or any amount of grief, it'd be nice for you to go out and do that. You do not have to do it. I'm not making you do anything. What the money goes to is to help me pay Andrew to come in and help me edit the videos up, as well as the kids that come in here on Saturdays and today, Sunday, to help us with these videos. So it gives us a chance to be able to give them a little bit of money to do what they do for us, as well as help pay Andrew to come in and edit and help me during the week, which things are getting a little busier around here in a lot of respects, so it is nice to have that help. Also, subscribe to the channel. 100,000 people, that's all we need. Get that little PDF JPEG thing from the guys at YouTube, you know, because they're probably not doing plaques anymore for 100,000. I mean, you know, because I'm always like right there. If you like it now, you should have been here like, I don't know, a month ago. That's the way it seems to work for me sometimes. But we still want that 100,000. We're looking for it. We want it. We're tasting it. Come on, subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. You know, all that stuff. Finally, folks, be kind to each other. Be good to each other. Love on each other. Y'all come back and we'll see you on down the road. I told you that we would do this, and here we are. We are going to show you exactly what's wrong with this shifter. You can take this arm and move it back and forth like this. That's bad juju. You shouldn't be able to do that. That saddle system is actually so worn out that it's going to need to be replaced. I'm not going to try doing it. I've tried getting that thing off there 3 or 4 different times to tighten the saddle up, not coming out. So I'm going to send it off to Ford 4-speed shifters and just have him work on tightening that up, the shaft assembly where the saddle is, and then we'll get it back, and then we'll put it in the car and we'll show you how to align everything and then how to make it shift nice with the transmission. We'll probably end up going through the Borg Warner as well. 60-year-old transmissions.